guys, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're going to be talking about some of my favorite Halloween reads. Like to read horror and suspenseful novels in the October month, especially when it gets closer to Halloween. So I have quite a few books over here. Some of them are going to be scarier than others, but I feel like all of these fit the atmosphere of fall and October and Halloween quite perfectly, so we're gonna jump right on in. The first books that I have here are the first two books in the Shadow House series by Dan Poblocki. This is a middle grade series that I picked up a couple years ago, and I've only read the first book so far, but these are nice, short, creepy but not too creepy for the kids, Halloween, horror-y types of books. This is the first one here, and what I really do love is that the cover has like a see-through part, so on the inside it's not the exact same picture as on the cover, and then the second one does the exact same thing, although slightly differently. It's basically the same picture. So this is a book series that reminded me a lot of like the Goosebumps style of books. I remember reading those a ton back when I was in elementary school. Those were the ones that were always out of stock at our school library, and you had to be put on the list to get those because everybody enjoyed those. This is a series where 5 different kids end up at this house for different reasons. They're all brought there under different circumstances. And once they get there, they realize that not everything is what it seems. This house is definitely creepier than it first was when they first got there, and there are many mysteries surrounding the goings-on of the house as well. I really enjoyed these ones. I think they are quite fun reads, and they're not too scary if you are going to have some like later elementary school kids reading these. One other cool thing is they do have an app that goes with the books, and it just sort of takes you through other elements and stories of the Shadow House, which is just an extra bonus. Next, I'm going to basically suggest anything by Christopher Pike. I have a series here called The Final Friends. This one has book 1, The Party, book 2, The Dance, and book 3, The Graduation. Christopher Pike is someone that I think about when I think about Goosebumps and R.L. Stine. He is an author that did a lot of, I would consider it, some of it young adult horror and then some of it kids horror. It definitely feels a little bit more mature than the Goosebumps stuff, but none of it is nearly as crazy as the young adult stuff that we get now for the spooky books. But he wrote a lot during the 80s and 90s, so around the same time as the Goosebumps books were coming out. This is a series that I really enjoyed, and part of the reason I picked this up is that out of the ones that I currently have from him still, I do think these are some of my favorite because it is a trilogy. He has a lot of standalone horrors as well. And so basically this series ends up following a school where the kids, I think the school closed and they had to move to a different school. So there was a group of friends that because they were going to be going to a new school with new people that they haven't met before, they decided to throw like a getting to know you party between the two groups of students. But while they're there, certain things happen and it ends with a death that people are thinking is a suicide. However, there are some students that don't believe their friend actually killed themselves, and so the first book definitely deals about that a lot more, but then we do get more mysteries surrounding those events in the second and third book as well. Christopher Pike, again, is just a really, really good horror suspense type author. Most of his books are from the 80s and 90s. Like, I believe this first one came out in 1988. So I find them quite often at used bookstores for not too expensive. The next book I want to talk about is a recent read for me, and that is going to be Sadie by Courtney Summers. This is a standalone book that I just absolutely love. I have not heard a single person say anything bad about this. This is a very hard-hitting young adult story. It's not going to be a horror story. There's no paranormal elements, but I just feel like the subject matter definitely benefits from the fall atmosphere. This is a story about Sadie, who runs away from home after the murder of her sister, and she has revenge on the mind. She wants to take revenge on the person who did it. It also has a second viewpoint of a podcast show who is trying to determine what exactly happened from that murder through Sadie's disappearance. And again, this was such a good book. I think I've talked about this multiple times on my channel now because it is just that good. There are going to be trigger warnings with this book, specifically going to be like pedophilia, child abuse, basically in that vein. So if you aren't up for reading about really hard-hitting subject matter, you probably shouldn't read this one. But if you're able to get through that, I do feel like this has a very important message with it. Another author that is just anything that he writes you're probably going to want to pick up around October is going to be Stephen King. I have a few different books on my shelves from him, but it is my absolute favorite. I just absolutely love many of his books. I like the ones that are more paranormal horror, preferably. However, I have read a few other ones that are more grounded in reality that are still just as good. I'm sure this one is one that most people know about, so I'm not going to get into it too much, but if you're looking for a really good horror type of book, Stephen King has always got your back. Now, this wouldn't be one of my videos if I didn't talk about manga. I think I do that at least one every single wrap-up. So, for our horror books, anything by Juji Ito is going to be amazing. These are some of his collections that I own. We do have Jyo, Tomi, and Uzumaki. I also have picked up his Frankenstein book that just came out recently, and I'm going to be reading it for the Spookathon, so I'm very excited to get to that one. However, he is just a really good storyteller and artist of how he depicts everything that's going on in this. We have 3 different stories here. Jyo is all about a weird fishy scent that comes from the ocean, and then creatures start coming out and attacking. Tomi is all about a very beautiful girl who seems to be immortal and has some other crazy things going on. And then Uzumaki is all about spirals. I can't really get into this one too much because it's very weird. You have to definitely experience it. But it's all about this town who is dealing with a spiral problem. And I know it sounds weird, but just trust me on this. I absolutely love the way that he illustrates these as well. They are very clean, but they're also very creepy. Another manga series that I haven't heard too many people talk about, but I do feel fits this month and Halloween perfectly, is going to be the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service. I have these as the omnibus volumes because that is how they printed them in English. I believe each volume actually has 3 different manga volumes, like from the original way that they released them in Japan. So we do have volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, and volume 4. So with the 4 volumes with 3 books in each, there should be 12 books. I believe there was either 13 or 14 actual volumes in the manga, and I think you can order them in English. I have never really seen them in a bookstore though, so I don't currently own those, even though I would really love to finish this series. This series is all about a group of people who end up working for the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service, and they are basically there to help shepherd the ghosts or souls or the people that have these corpses to their afterlife. Each of the people that work here have some sort of special ability that helps them in their work. I really enjoyed this one. Again, the lines and everything are going to be very clean. It's not as creepy of a drawing as the Juji Ito ones. However, these are definitely mature content in here. This is not going to be for the faint of heart, but they were very enjoyable and super creepy. The next book that I have here is actually a series, and that is going to be the Beni Amura series, or the Rotten Ruin series by Jonathan Mayberry. I have 4 different books here. We have Rotten Ruin, Dust and Decay, Flesh and Bone, and Fire and Ash. So this is a series that I've actually only read the first 2 books of, and I will get into that in a little bit. But this is a young adult series all about what life is like after a zombie apocalypse. So we do follow a group of teenage kids that live in a compound with some other adults and other family members, and they are just sort of trying to survive living their life with the fact that there are zombies outside of the compound's walls. I really enjoyed the first 2 books. I was actually talking to a coworker about these about a week or so ago, and I was just talking about how I have the first 4, but I haven't been able to get past the second book in the series, and it's basically because there is a character in the first 2 books that I really liked, and near the end of the second book, they are killed off. That is all I gave her, and she was like, spoilers, and I'm like, no, it's not, because 1, I didn't give you any hints or tell you who it was, but also, this is a zombie book. Like, this is not a happy story. This is like Walking Dead, but for teenagers. There are characters that are not going to survive this story. I don't know anything else about the last 2 books in the series, but people die in the first book. People die in the second book. It was just, there was a character that I really liked that also died in the second book. So this is, again, this is a zombie story, but it is written for young adults. So just keep that in mind. It's not going to be a, like, pulling its punches or anything. It definitely had some zombie violence and everything in here, but again, I really enjoy Jonathan Mayberry's writing style. I know he has an adult zombie series as well. I think it's Patient Zero or something like that. I have not read those, but I really enjoyed these ones, and I probably just need to pick up the 3rd and 4th book sometime soon. The second to last series that I have here is actually going to be a romance series, which, I mean, hey, might sound a little bit weird putting it in with all of these other sort of horror thriller types of books, but it is a series about vampires, and I know some people are going to be rolling their eyes at me, but this is one that I just absolutely love, and I just had to mention it here, and it's going to be the Night Huntress series by Janine Frost. The first book here is Halfway to the Grave, and then we have One Foot in the Grave, At Grave's End, Destined for an Early Grave, This Side of the Grave, One Grave at a Time, and Up from the Grave. So this is a series that if you are a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you need to pick these books up. They are paranormal romance, but they are much more than that. This is a series that follows our main character of Kat, who is a half vampire, and she slays vampires. We also have another character that pops up in here whose name is Bones, who is a British vampire who bleaches his hair. If you want to say that sounds exactly like Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you would probably be right. One thing I do want to say is, even though this sounds sort of like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer ripoff from the first book, their characters definitely evolve much more beyond that, and they are fully fleshed out characters. I saw the similarities to Buffy the Vampire Slayer more in this first book than in the rest of the series, but they are super fun, super enjoyable. I really enjoyed these ones specifically because I prefer my romances with more of a plot line than just the I love you, let's have sex. And that's what we get from this. We definitely get more of her actually trying to do like the whole save the world, eradicate bad vampires. We go to different places and see different monsters than just vampires, especially in later books. But these ones, again, are just written so well. I am really due for a reread on these, and if you do enjoy these books, she also has a spin-off series with Dracula, which is just so good. Those are the Night Prince books, and I believe she's coming out with a new book in this world later this year who follows a side character from these as well. These are just nice, really fun and enjoyable books. They do have those sort of Halloween-y characters, like we have the vampires, we have ghouls, we have those kind of things in here. But there are also consequences here as well. Not everything in these are going to be hunky-dory, and so I just really enjoyed these. And then last but not least, a book series I know I have talked about before, but that is going to be the Vale Diaries series from B.L. Brunimer. We have the first 5 books here. This is Trying to Live with the Dead, When the Dead Come A-Knockin', When to Fear the Living, Whispers from the Dead, and When Evil Comes to Play. So this is an independently published book series. This is a young adult series that deals with paranormal elements. What I really enjoy about this series is that we have characters who are rooted in the real world, and they have real life problems. They go to high school, they have to deal with, you know, family members, but we also have the added fact that our main character of Lexie can actually see ghosts and spirits and has to sort of deal with them as well, help them move on. There are crazy things that happen in these. I really, really enjoy them. I'm not going to get too much into the other books because the story definitely evolves as it goes, but in this first one specifically, we have her dealing with going to a new town, a new school, trying to make friends, but also the fact that these ghosts are around and she is having side effects that are not good for her health each time they come around, and she's trying to hide who she is from these people that she is hoping are going to be friends of hers. And so again, the fact that we are dealing with like real world type of problems that real teenagers would probably deal with, and the paranormal aspect is amazing to me. I really also enjoy B.L. Brennemer's writing style. I do want to specify that each book gets even better. So I know I really enjoy this first book. I've read it at least 7 times. But now when I look back on it, I do see a little bit of issues with it. Just the writing style is not the best that it could be. But this last one that we got earlier this year is absolutely amazing. I could not put this down. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. And then she just announced that the 6th book in the series, Secrets from the Grave, is actually going to be released as an ebook on October 31st. I will leave the pre-order link down below in case you guys are interested in that. Because these are independently published books by B.L. Brennemer, she always starts with the ebooks first, and then as she makes sure there are no extra typos in her books or anything like that that accidentally got missed, she will then put out a paperback version, and she does do audio as well. Those usually come out 6 months after the book has released. These, I think, are one of my favorite series right now. She is an absolutely amazing author. She keeps me on the edge of my seat the entire time. Not only that, but I love the character development in these books. She has some of the best character development I've seen in a while, between Lexie and her uncle as like a father figure, between Lexie and her cousin, and Lexie and her best friends. Everything is just so well thought out, and everybody grows so much with each subsequent book. I just absolutely love them. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what books you like to read around October and Halloween. Subscribe to this channel if you would like to see more videos. I do have videos up every Monday and Thursday, so I will see you then. Bye!